And as the war in Ukraine rages on, the country is facing the near impossible task of accounting for more than 80,000 people reported missing since Russia's full-scale invasion. Across Ukraine, families continue to protest, demanding the return of their loved ones. The Interior Ministry has said that both military personnel and civilians are believed to have been detained, deported, forcibly transferred or killed. Now, despite the ongoing armed conflict, the government appears committed to meeting its international legal obligations to investigate these disappearances and to ensure accountability for any crimes committed. And to help us understand how these cases are investigated, I'm joined now by Kathryne Bomberger, the Director General of the International Commission on Missing Persons. Welcome, Kathryne. It's great to have you here in the DW studio. Now, 80,000, that is a breathtaking number. Can you help our viewers understand who these people are? We'd mentioned soldiers, civilians. Tell us more.
Yeah, it's a staggering number. In fact, I think it's incomprehensible for most people. But as you rightly said, I mean, these include combatants, it includes civilians, it includes persons who are non-Ukrainians. In fact, there are many Colombian fighters, for example, who've gone to join the Ukrainian army to fight on their side. So it's a very complicated process. Families of the missing are residing inside Ukraine and outside of Ukraine. Many of them are refugees here in Germany. So collecting data from those who are refugees outside of Ukraine. I mean, this is an enormous undertaking. And as you rightly said as well, Ukraine is doing a good job in adhering to the rule of law to ensure that there are proper investigations into these cases. The problem is when there are 80,000 missing persons, this exceeds the scale and capability of any one country to investigate, especially when that country is fighting a war for its own survival and potentially for the survival of all of us.
So it's complicated and it's huge. Tell us about the kind of mechanisms that are in place to help the families look for their loved ones.
Well, first, it's very important that everything is done for the families. That is why we're all here. They need to have their rights secured to justice, to truth, accountability, and reparations. And remember also that the majority of those missing are men. So the majority of those left behind whose rights need to be secured are primarily women and children. And legally, under the law, there is a gap. When you have a missing person, they're neither dead nor alive. So it's very difficult to access rights, especially rights to inheritance, custody, etc. So there are many, many levels on which we're trying to help Ukraine, including reforming its legislation, building the requisite institutions, which Ukraine has done, and I can get into that, using advanced technologies to try to locate and identify missing persons and to investigate them to a standard where evidence can be provided to an international court.
Mm-hmm. So you've mentioned the work that the Ukrainian government is doing. So give us a sense of who's leading the charge in tracking down these missing persons, or what kind of sort of partnership it is, you know, between the Ukrainian government and international organizations like yours.
So it's a coordinated effort that is undertaken by a variety of ministries and institutions within Ukraine. But that effort is coordinated by the Commission on Missing Persons under Special Circumstances and led by a man who's very good named Artur Dobrosadov. Now, he has to coordinate that process between the Ministry of Interior, the Ministry of Justice, the Ministry of Health, and that commission currently resides within the Ministry of Interior. Also, they have to coordinate with the Ministry of Defense, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. So this is a very complicated process where you need all the relevant institutions to work together. They also need to ensure that they provide reliable and accurate information to families of the missing and Ukrainian civil society and beyond, so that they know what the status of their cases are. So this is very complicated, and this requires really advanced data systems, the use of DNA technologies, OSINT technologies. So we are working with them to help advance their legislative framework, their institutional framework, their data systems capability, and their scientific know-how.
Can I ask, is Russia offering any cooperation at all in terms of these search efforts?
Yeah. Well, I should say we were invited by the government of Ukraine initially in 2014 following the first invasion. And then we were voluntarily funded, so we couldn't help at that point, sadly. But now we have received funds, including from the government of Germany, following an invitation from the prosecutor's office following the full-scale invasion. We have not been invited by the government of the Russian Federation to provide assistance. So this comes down to political will. There is no political will at the moment, and that's similar to what we saw in Syria during the Assad regime. Now that Damascus has been liberated, for example, there's a new commission on missing persons, and we could provide direct help inside Ukraine, inside Syria. So states have to take responsibility, and they have to exhibit the political will to find missing persons and to build the infrastructure to do so. But even still, in the case of Ukraine, the numbers are so large at this moment because the official numbers are 80,000, but I've been told unofficially they could be up to 200,000.
The war continues. Even if the war were to end today, how long would you estimate that the search to locate missing Ukrainian citizens might take?
Yeah, and I'm going to use the word investigation because it's very important. Sorry, yeah, because it is not just about searching, it is about trying to locate that person and properly investigate, because upholding the rule of law is essential to provide reliable and accurate information and truthful information, because this is a battle also not only on the front lines but against misinformation. And we experienced that in the case of Srebrenica, for example, where we started our work in the former Yugoslavia. So this is going to take a long time because of the needs that are there. But Ukraine is doing these things. It's very systematic. But 80,000, I don't know. It could take decades, sadly. And that is a terrible thing for families of the missing to hear. And sadly, these families of the missing will have to be front and center of these efforts to continue to advocate. And this takes a lot of courage from them. I mean, they're devastated, they're traumatized. They need to be able also not to be frightened of going to their governments, which they're not. They're very strong female-led organizations that are advocating for this. But the more families of the missing and Ukrainian civil society are engaged, I hope the shorter the length of time. But if there's an ongoing war, which there is, this will be much more complicated and take much longer.
Kathryne Bomberger, Director General of the International Commission on Missing Persons. Kathryne, thank you for your time.
Thank you very much.